On December 24, 2008, Elon Musk was broke. Not tight on cash, not between paychecks, broke. He was borrowing money from friends to pay his rent. His own employees did not know if their paychecks would clear in 2 days, and the two companies he had poured his entire life savings into, both of them, were hours away from shutting down forever. Fast forward to this month, June 2026. That same man just became the richest human being who has ever lived. Not the richest alive, the richest in history. $1 trillion. One person, a number so big that it is larger than the entire economy of Sweden, of Ireland, of Taiwan. So here is the real question. It is not how did Elon Musk get rich? Rich people are everywhere. The real question is, how does a guy go from borrowing rent money on Christmas Eve to becoming the first trillionaire on planet Earth in less than 20 years? That is what we are unpacking today. And trust me, the middle of this story is way crazier than the ending. Let us go back to the beginning, not the SpaceX beginning. Before that, the PayPal money. Musk is 28 years old. He's already sold his first company, a digital map and directory service called Zip2, to Compaq for over $300 million. That same year, he co-founds a company called X.com, an online payments startup. X.com eventually merges with a rival founded by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin. You'd know that company by its other name, PayPal. In 2002, eBay buys PayPal for $1.5 billion. Musk's cut? Around $175 million. Now, here's where most people would have stopped the story. Buy a house, buy a yacht, retire at 31. Musk did the opposite. He took almost every dollar of that PayPal money and lit it on fire, on purpose, by pouring it into two of the riskiest businesses imaginable, a rocket company and an electric car company. In the early 2000s, nobody, and I mean nobody, thought either of those ideas would work. He founded SpaceX in 2002 with one explicit, almost absurd goal: make humanity a multi-planetary species. Years later, standing on stage the day SpaceX finally went public, Musk would look back and admit something pretty wild. He said, quote, "I gave SpaceX less than a 10% chance of succeeding at all." Let that sink in. He bet basically his entire fortune on something he himself thought would probably fail. The fall of 2008. So now we are back to that Christmas Eve. By 2008, SpaceX had attempted 3 rocket launches with its Falcon 1 rocket. All 3 failed. 3 explosions. 3 disasters. The company had budgeted for exactly 3 attempts, meaning, by every normal business logic, SpaceX should have already been dead. At the exact same time, Tesla was bleeding nearly $4 million a month, and the entire global economy was collapsing in the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. General Motors, one of the largest car companies on Earth, was about to file for bankruptcy. And Musk was sitting there trying to keep a tiny electric car startup alive in the middle of that. He was so low on personal cash that he had to borrow money from friends just to cover rent. This is a man who, a few years earlier, had nearly $200 million to his name. He had one shot left. One. SpaceX scraped together just enough money for a 4th and final launch attempt of Falcon 1. If it failed, that was it. Game over, company closed. It didn't fail. Falcon 1 reached orbit. It was the first privately built liquid-fueled rocket in history to do it. Days later, NASA called. They offered SpaceX a contract worth $1.6 billion to fly cargo to the International Space Station. That single contract saved the company. And then, on the Tesla side in the same week, practically the same breath, Musk put every remaining dollar he had into a last-second funding round to keep Tesla alive. He later described it like this: "The financing round closed at 6 p.m. on December 24, 2008. The very last hour of the very last day it was possible. If it had closed even a few hours later, paychecks would have bounced 2 days after Christmas. 2 companies, saved within days of each other. On literally no money left in the tank. That's not a tough year. That's the kind of moment that ends most founders forever." The climb. Tesla didn't just survive. It became the most valuable car company on the planet, eventually worth more than Toyota, Ford, and GM combined at various points. SpaceX became the company every government and satellite company on Earth depends on to get to orbit. At one point, the company most responsible for nearly all of humanity's access to space, and Musk's net worth started climbing in a way the world had genuinely never tracked before. By 2019, he crossed $20 billion. After a Tesla stock split the following year, his fortune exploded. He became the 5th person in history to hit the $100 billion mark. Then it just kept going. $500 billion, then $600 billion, when SpaceX's private valuation soared past $800 billion on the strength of tender offers and investor demand. As recently as 2024, Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Bernard Arnault were trading the title of world's richest person back and forth, with net worth sitting somewhere around $200 billion each. $200 billion used to be the ceiling. In hindsight, that's almost funny. The IPO, which brings us to June 12, 2026. SpaceX, the same company that nearly died after 3 rocket explosions, rings the opening bell on the Nasdaq under the ticker SPCX. It is, by every measure, the largest IPO in history. The company raises $75 billion in a single offering and gets valued at roughly $1.77 trillion. Investor demand wasn't just high, it was absurd. Reports show over $250 billion in total orders for the stock. Retail investors alone, regular people, not big funds, tried to put in more than $70 billion in requests for shares. When the stock opened trading at $150 a share, Musk's personal stake in SpaceX alone was worth more than $766 billion. Add in his Tesla holdings, and his total net worth crossed into a number that had never existed for a single human being before, roughly $1.1 trillion. The first trillionaire in the history of the human species. Before the bell rang that day, Musk, usually pretty unfiltered, pretty blunt, got almost reflective. He told employees, "It is certainly hard to believe a little company that started in a warehouse in El Segundo is now going public with the largest IPO ever." A warehouse. That's literally where this started. The perspective beat. Now here's the part that's genuinely hard for a human brain to process. $1 billion alone is already an amount most of us can't really picture. If you spent $27,000 every single day for an entire 100-year lifetime, you still wouldn't spend $1 billion. Elon Musk has over 1,000 of those. His personal fortune right now is worth more than the entire combined GDP of countries like Sweden or Ireland. He is, on paper, worth more than the next 5 richest people on Earth combined. So what do we actually take from this? It's tempting to just say he got lucky, or he's a genius, but neither of those really explains it. What actually explains it is this. In 2008, that same week, with no money left and 2 companies about to collapse, Elon Musk did not fold. He pushed both bets to the absolute final hour, and both of them happened to land within days of each other. If Falcon 1's fourth launch fails, there's no SpaceX, no SpaceX IPO, no Trillionaire. The entire story we just told you was sitting on a single rocket launch in 2008. That's the part that doesn't usually make the headlines. Everyone sees the $1 trillion number. Almost nobody talks about the Christmas Eve before it. If you found this story as wild as I did, hit subscribe, because this channel is all about pulling apart the real stories behind the headlines you have already seen, but never actually understood. See you in the next one.